Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. You've heard me say before that one of the questions I like to ask a group of people is, if you could be there to witness any event in the life of Jesus, what would it be and why? I told you I hear all kinds of answers too, as the answers remind us of Bible stories and we learn more about God and each other. On a few occasions, sometimes someone has eventually asked me, Pastor, how would you answer the question? Well, my answer tends to change at different times, but for a long time I would answer, I would like to be walking down some dusty road, following along behind Jesus, and to hear him laugh at something. I would love to hear the laughter of God. Now, you might object that there's nowhere in the Bible that tells of an event like that, and yet I am quite convinced that it happened a lot. I think far too often we picture Jesus as so serious and spectral, but the Jesus the Bible tells of was warm and down to earth. In fact, there's one place where the religious leaders complain about Jesus, and Jesus responds by saying, Look, John the Baptist came and went the serious route, and you didn't like him. I come celebrating and happy, and you don't like me either. There's no pleasing you. Jesus partied so much that his opponents called him a wine-bibber and a glutton. It's hard to imagine Jesus, full of grace and the joy of God, not living that out and expressing it with laughter and joy. So I thought that this week perhaps we could talk about humor in the Bible. That might sound like an odd statement because most of us don't think about the Bible as a laugh-a-minute read. And we would be right. Humor in the Bible is not that kind of humor. Humor in the Bible isn't humor so much as it is humorous. What I mean by that odd sentence is that Bible humor is somewhat more subtle than an outright joke. I'm going to talk about that today, and then the rest of the week we will look at some examples from the life of Jesus that show how that works. The word laughter is often used in the Bible, but often refers to scorn, to people laughing at someone derisively. For example, when Jesus goes to Jairus' house and tells the mourners that his daughter who has died is only sleeping, they all laugh at Jesus. That's not humorous. Perhaps to understand Bible humor, it helps to put ourselves into their world. Most people were poor, and so humor was aimed upward at the rulers and wealthy, and that kind of humor would be appreciated. And indeed, the Bible is full of stories where the wealthy and powerful get their comeuppance, and those who heard and told those stories would have found mirth in them. They equal the playing field a little bit. Wordplay is another vehicle for Bible humor. For example, when Jeremiah was called to be a prophet, God says to him in Jeremiah 1:11, What do you see, Jeremiah? The young prophet responds, I see a branch of an almond tree. The Lord responds, I am watching over my word to perform it. Now, that's not a knee slapper, but in Hebrew the word for almond tree is shaked, while the word for watching is shoked. That amusing turn of phrase would have caught the listener's ear. This kind of thing is all over the Bible and is used lots of times, but it works in the original language and doesn't often translate well into English. Bible humor is characterized by irony often, and Jonah might be a good example here. Unable to convince his own people into faith, he is sent to an enemy and in one day converts the whole city. And then he resents what has happened. Now, if you're paying attention, you have to find some humor there amid the serious point of how we respond to God. Sometimes Jesus uses exaggeration to make a humorous point as well. For example, how can a camel go through the eye of a needle? Or why would you give your child a snake instead of some fish? This rich imagery opens up the mind and invites seeing these images with humor. So as we talk about humor in the Bible, don't really expect to laugh out loud. And of course, humor explained somehow loses its humor. Nevertheless, you might find yourself amused and or chuckling a bit. Again, it helps a lot to put ourselves in their world. And that doesn't translate to our world so easily. I invite you to see a Jesus who smiled. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.